Hi, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Math Rambles with Josh. Wait, Math Rambles with Josh? That's not right. This is Music Rambles with Josh. Well, I'm probably just have that on the mind because we're doing a little bit of cross promotion with Math Rambles with Christo. We're inspired in a couple of ways. First of all, the title of the show, obviously. Second of all, I'm going to be trying to keep a little bit to his format. He's been really good at keeping it to 10 minutes or less. So I'm going to try to keep it short this week, or rather today. Finally, our question today actually comes from Christo. Christo asks, "Dear Josh, I really want to participate in the ShadSong by singing." Oh, Christo, I'm so flattered. "But I don't know what my vocal range is, and thus what part to sing. Can you help me?" Why, yes, Christo, I can. So what we're going to be doing today is demonstrating how you, yes, you can figure out what your vocal range is if you don't know it already. And even if you do know it, this could be a fun exercise just to check and see. Maybe it's a little bit different than you thought. Maybe you thought you were a tenor, but you're actually a baritone. We'll find out today. So the first resource that we're going to be using is this vocal ranges chart in relation to piano. And I know a lot of you guys may not have piano experience. I didn't know any piano until a couple of months ago when I taught myself enough to be able to play those two nice chords at the start of the video. And that is totally okay. I'm going into this assuming you have no piano knowledge. And we are going to move through this step by step. So working with this chart, we can actually determine what vocal ranges you would be a part of. We actually have them listed down here, roughly associating with different note ranges on the piano. They're listed here as male and female because those are the gender roles they've typically been associated with. Of course, we know that different people have different body functions and body abilities. And so whichever range you fall into is perfect for you. So let's take a look at some of these ranges. So for example, the bass one goes from E2 to E4. What is E2, E4? Well, as we know, the notes of the scale are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The number in this notation just indicates which note that is so that it could be consistent and we can keep track of those notes no matter what instrument we're playing or what person is singing. So the most notable example of that is C4, which is middle C on the piano, which is exactly in between the treble clef and the bass clef. It's right in the middle of the range that most musicians will encounter. So on a piano, you can find middle C as follows. So first, you need to be able to find a C. C is always located as the white note that is to the immediate left of two black keys. So if you find any group of two black keys on a keyboard, it could be this one or this one or this one or this one, and you go to the white note that is immediately to the left of those two black notes, that will always be a C. Now, how do you find a middle C? Well, as you might imagine, by looking at the middle of the piano. If we hop over, because this is a little bit bigger than an actual keyboard would be, if you hop over to this virtual piano, as you can see, to find middle C, we just divide this roughly in half, so around here, and then look to the left. There is our middle C. Hopefully you can hear that, otherwise I have to re-record this whole video. So that is our middle C. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to that C, and we're going to try to sing a C in response to it. It doesn't have to be the middle C that we sing. We want to sing that same note. So if we hear that, we'll play that one more time. We're going to try to sing that. Now what we're going to do now is some of you guys may have perfect pitch, in which case you could probably figure out this next part on your own. However, for the rest of us mere mortals, we are going to turn to our friend, the Tuner app. So if we sing whatever note into this, it'll show us the note itself, but if you have a nice one like me, this one's called Soundcorset, you can actually look at the top, and I know it's a little bit blurry, but it actually indicates which note it is in that same scientific music notation. So if I sing that again, ooh, I got it on tone. As you can see, it was a C3, which means I'm actually singing an octave below the middle C. When I say octave, what that means is a full cycle of notes. We go C, B, if we start at the middle C, and then we go down B, A, G, F, E, D, C. That's a full octave. So that is the most comfortable C for me. So we'll use that as a starting point for me to figure out my vocal range. So that's the first step. Now what do I do next? So we can either work up or work down to find out the limits of our vocal range. I'm going to work down because personally that's where I'm more comfortable, but you can work up, it's up to you. But let me explain the steps for working down. So you're going to want to work down the scale. And I mentioned you were doing a lot of singing. It could be useful for you to do some little warm-ups before you just outline the rest of your vocal range, because the more comfortable you are singing in terms of having warmed up, the more accurate this diagnostic is going to be. So let's do a couple of short warm-ups. We'll begin with some breathing. I'll breathe in 4 and out 8. What's that in binary? So yeah, I can't show binary actually for number 4. So we'll just do 4 and then 8. So in 4. All right. So we might do that a couple of times. You might also want to do some other warm-ups, but I'll actually show you some warm-ups as we navigate moving up and down. So moving down, a nice warm-up that I like to do, and you can do this as you move down, is moving 5 notes down in a row to our target note. So if we're moving to this note, C, I would sing, ah, da, 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 and then go another semitone below, da. Oh, that wasn't quite right. Let's try that again. Da, 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 da. My audio glitched out here, so I'm editing this, but the rest of it sounded like this. Ba da 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 da, 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 ba da 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 da. And that's about as far as I got. Anyway, back to present, Josh. Oh, that one's a little bit out of range, so we're gonna, it's a little uncomfortable. So we're gonna say that this was the lowest note that I was able to sing. If you were able to keep singing lower, then you could keep on doing that exercise on your own until you eventually reach your lower limit. And so we'll just remember that we started, remember, on C3, and then we moved down to the F. So if we look back at our little diagram, sign C3, move over to the F, that is F2. So as you can see, that's pretty close to the typical lowest point of a bass vocal range. But we also need to test our upper range, because maybe I can go lower than I can go high, or maybe the other way around. Let's find out. So as we move up, we'll go start again with our most comfortable note, that C. For me, that was a C3. And we'll do arpeggios up. An arpeggio sounds like this. Me, 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 me. And so this time we'll move up as we sing that. So, oh, and there is also saying that goes along with that. It is Bella Senora. So it would sound like this. Bella Senora, 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 Bella Senora. Okay, I think that's about as high as I can go. That was the G above C3, but remember that I was going up an octave in each of those arpeggios, so I was hitting the... So that was the highest note that I was hitting. So if we hop back here, we start with that C3, we move up to the G, and then we go up the octave to G, and look at that. It's actually just a little bit higher than the typical bass range. So you could say that it's a little ambiguous, whether I'm a bass, because I have mostly overlap with the bass on the top end and don't quite reach baritone over here, but I go over the line, or don't quite reach the bottom line of the bass here. So as you can see, you're not going to perfectly fit necessarily any one of these vocal ranges, but it'll give you an idea of which part is going to be most comfortable for you. So for me, typically, when I've been singing choirs, I've always sung the bass part because that's what's been most comfortable. But who knows, maybe with a little bit more practice, working on those far ends of my vocal range, maybe I could feel comfortable singing the baritone part. So that is how you figure out your vocal range. And so hopefully you can use all of that information in order to figure out which part you can sing, and then sing with us for the ShadSong that's coming up. Thank you so much to Christo for sending in this topic. If you have a topic that you'd like me to cover in a future Music Ramble with Josh, feel free to leave me a message. This one was a lot of fun to do. And I look forward to working with you More on this. Hopefully, in the future, I'll also be able to talk about some vocal warm-ups so that you can be as warmed up as possible, both for finding your vocal range and for singing your Shad song. Until then, this has been Music Rambles with Josh. I got the name right this time. That's all I wanted.